While regulations are generally in place to safeguard safety and fairness, they can occasionally devolve into utter lunacy. Gymnasts who make up a substantial component of the athletic pool must follow some of the same regulations as their counterparts. Even yet, there are several regulations specific to gymnastics that are obviously difficult to grasp. Let's dive into some obscure rules that gymnasts have to abide by and why. Who doesn't want to appear good while working hard? Everyone, of course. Gymnasts regrettably must keep things simple. While wearing no jewelry and wearing protective hairstyles reduces the risk of damage and ensures a safe landing, they're usually prohibited because they can be too distracting. Distracting in the same way that a coloured brace is. Makeup, on the other hand, is permitted in moderation. Anything excessive or dramatic is forbidden, according to the newest guidelines of the International Gymnastics Federation. The no nail polish rule is an expansion of this regulation. In other words, if you're going to participate, don't do anything fancy with your nails. However, nude nail paints such as nude braces are absolutely acceptable. Having your look scrutinized isn't quite as unpleasant as the following surprising regulation. The regulation that permits the top 2 spots from each country to go to the Olympic finals ruffles every Gemini gymnast. Despite the fact that it looks to be fair, it has harmed the chances of many exceptional athletes. Gabby Douglas, who had been a 4-time Olympic winner, was relegated at the 2016 Rio Olympics because her country's woman took the first 2 spots. If you think your school's code is strict on your body language, wait till you hear what athletes go through. Even something as basic as curling your toes might result in a poor grade. When it comes to jumps, gymnastics judges are particularly strict about pointing one's toes. What happens if you break this apparently little rule? Well, the result is a deduction of 1/10 from your score. Gymnasts must only open their legs when dismounting or tumbling, according to another similar but very insane regulation. To some extent, opening them a bit too wide is a form error that can result in a deduction, much as bending your knees before landing does. At the end of the day, gymnasts' uncanny accuracy is what allows them to achieve the uncommon perfect 10. When it comes to schools, the requirements for kid gymnasts are even more peculiar. There are days when your bladder takes on a life of its own, especially when you have to bend and twist your body in all directions. While it may be a big issue for some kids to wet their pants, juvenile gymnasts are trained to overlook such mishaps. Although there are no explicit restrictions for a gymnast's bowel movements, the rules for composure generally apply. All these poor youngsters can hope for is that they aren't upside down or halfway up in the air when it happens. While a gymnast's pre-routine salute is a show of respect, it also serves as a means of communication. To be more specific, it signals the start and finish of a gymnast routine. The fact that neglecting to salute results in a penalty is no little concern. With all the pressure and expectations placed on gymnasts, it's typical and acceptable for them to forget to salute. Who knew a single arm raise could have such far-reaching consequences? Regrettably, the terrible policies don't stop there. In the context of other sports, the next regulation appears to be a valid offence. If you enjoy other sports as much as gymnastics, you may be familiar with the concept of reviewing. A review is usually conducted to determine whether a player's performance was truly at fault. However, unlike cricket and a number of other sports, a gymnast cannot just request one and be granted one. Unfortunately, gymnasts must file a petition and pay to have their results reviewed. Knowing how even the tiniest bump might influence their fate, most gymnasts are forced to comply with these irrational demands. Fortunately, there is a silver lining. If the judges honestly underestimated your performance, you will receive all of your dimes back. On the other hand, if they discover no errors in the scores, you may kiss your hard-earned money, anywhere from $100 to $1,000, goodbye. What did you say you know about thievery again? If you've ever attended a soccer game, you've probably noticed how loud it is. The team's coaches are frequently heard yelling directions. What happens on the sidelines of the court is equally as essential as what happens on the floor in most sports. This, especially the yelling of coaches, is something you won't notice during a gymnastics contest. This is due to a rule that requires gymnasts to stay in the zone during their performance. This regulation is usually in force until the scores have been matched. Overall, gymnasts are completely self-contained from start to finish. Surprisingly, this bizarre no-contact restriction also applies to their clothing. Although it may not appear so, a gymnast's routine may be highly nerve-wracking for the performer. Nonetheless, in the ruthless world of gymnastics, jangled nerves have no place. You can't even pause to shuffle or fumble in the least. This is due to the fact that each delayed movement deducts points from your ultimate score. You can't even take a break to regain your breath. This, along with the concept of keeping your toes pointed, your legs together or ideally far apart, and a trillion other little details, would undoubtedly cause a mental breakdown in a normal person. The final line is that gymnastics isn't for everyone. There's a reason why, out of the tens of thousands of gymnasts who try each year, just a few go pro. In any case, the advantages of becoming a gymnast outweigh a few strange regulations. Injuries are an unavoidable aspect of playing sports, so much so that there's a whole industry dedicated to sports injury bandages. A current alternative to sports wrap-style bandages that can be placed onto an injury is a brace composed of leather or Velcro. The gods of gymnastics, on the other hand, have mandated that these helping equipments are in nude color. Anything different, like black or white for example, results in points being deducted from the scoreboard. Gymnasts can't truly choose their own outfits in a group where their every clothing choice is scrutinized. They can't change anything after they've started their regimen since it would affect their grades. Gymnasts must make their leotard fit like a second layer of skin to avoid being subjected to the repercussions of this illogical regulation. This helps to lessen the likelihood of wardrobe malfunctions, but it doesn't compensate for how readily and fast you can avert problems with your own two hands. When it comes to leotards, the gymnasts don't have complete control over them either. Before they may be worn, they must fulfill a series of ever-increasing requirements of appropriateness. Some gymnasts must also model their leotards in front of their coaches and teammates to determine whether the judges would let them wear them. On a scale of ludicrous to absolutely inhuman, the current controversy surrounding these leotards attested to their being a full inconvenience, but having your garments plucked at does not compare to the final regulation on our list. As if the regulations for being a pro gymnast couldn't get any crazier, they say that you must go commando. Gymnasts are required to take an oath of secrecy while wearing particular types of undergarments. Simply said, a little showing of the undies might ruin your total grade. Companies have developed lined leotards to assist gymnasts in overcoming this humiliating situation. Although there is some logic to this irrational rule of avoiding wedgies, it poses a significant challenge for gymnasts on their period, especially since they must maintain their composure at all times. Now we're on to being a total control freak. Have you ever noticed how calm gymnasts usually look despite the fact that they're only 2 folds away from becoming a human pretzel? Whether you believe it or not, becoming a gymnast necessitates your body not displaying any indications of discomfort. Gymnasts are frequently required to display unusual levels of calm in order to retain the harmony and rhythm of their routines, even while injured. They may have to put up with it in order to avoid being penalized. Imagine putting up all of this work just to be eliminated from the finals. That's a wrap for this video. Which one of these rules ruffles your feathers the most? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.